Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm Kim Piazza.
I'm Phil Arno.
And we are here with our distinguished panel of guests. We have Chief David Zak, the Cheektowaga Chief of Police, Reverend Darius Pridgeon, and of course, Paul Cambria, a defense attorney. And we left on a note that we would come back talking about race relations, talking about this idea of us and them that seems to be percolating and pushing forward some of the issues that we're seeing here as of late. And I'd also like us to take a look at the role that the media plays, and perhaps perceived leaders like Al Sharpton plays in that race relation.
Well, I mean, I think that, obviously the media is there they got to continue selling commercials.
Ratings.
When you look at this whole Ferguson thing, they were there, I think at times sensationalizing it. Now, so they do play a role. And if that's what people are seeing, young people are seeing, protesters are seeing. I'll give you an example. In Buffalo, when the clergy got together and they talked about justice, one of the things they continue to say, we support the police, and how can we train young people to know how to deal with police? And then you had people who still came out and said, oh, but they're against, and it's the black guys against the white guys, and it was nothing further from the truth. But the sensationalism of it is very important when we look at where we are right now. When we talk about Sharpton, I will say that, and I shared with Paul during the break, that obviously African Americans and other races that are smaller in the United States, they look for a leader. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Al Sharpton. However, I do think that we have to be very careful in how we present ourselves and our case when we're talking about these issues.
When I look at you, Reverend, I see a leader, because I see a man who's not dividing people for political or financial gain.
Well, maybe because a little of that is a part of my belief in God, and I just believe that we are all the same and we just have different skin tones. But I do believe that there is still a segment and individuals. I think you have to take people as individuals. You can't, I don't think that these two gentlemen sitting beside me because their skin is white that they're going to treat me differently at the end. However, one of them may, but I need to take that person for what that person is doing and not paint every white male, every white woman as the same. And I think that's what's happening on both sides of this argument.
Well, but not to turn this into a Sharpton program, but really.
Right, we don't want to
put your finger on it. When you said Sharpton makes his money by sensationalizing.
What's he done for his race as far as, look, I'm on the outside looking in, I'm trying to be objective and judge him. I've met him, I've talked to him. What's he done for his race? Except every time there's a controversial big publicity item, he's there.
And he throws gasoline on the fire.
Where is he when there's no camera around? And what does he say when he gets there? As opposed to trying to come up with solutions, it's always a matter of they're doing this and we're that and let's this, and it just makes it worse. Guys like that are a total disservice, as far as I'm concerned, to the whole issue. You talk about transparency. Well, what should you do? All right, I'm the chief in Ferguson. I would suspend administratively the officer until there is an investigation internally. If the district attorney takes over, which they did there and put it before the grand jury speaks, that's that. And it's done as far as if I've done the right thing and I indicate what I'm doing, it's transparent.
But you do that according to Hoyle, and everybody expects that from a professional point of view. But Sharpton and other elements say, wait a minute, the cards are stacked against us. You're doing something that, on the face of it, you're supposed to do, but it's really racism.
And Phil, I don't think that's ever going away, because those people exist. The Sharptons exist. So the question is, what can you do with what you have? You can try your transparency stuff as much as possible, all right? Have a biracial committee in your department who's involved in the administrative part. I mean, there are a number of those things you can throw at it. It's never going to go away.
In Cheektowaga, you're adjacent to the city, and there's a large black population that comes in and shops at the Galleria, and how do you handle relations? I know officers in your department, because I knew an officer in your department, a very close friend, and he said basically, you know, I'm not judging people by their skin. You know, if they do something wrong, that's what I judge. I judge behavior. And in that respect, I think Reverend King actually won. I think in today's world, not everybody, but predominantly the population of this country now judges people on behavior, not on skin color.
I think that's a very broad statement, and I think depending on which side of the line you're standing, you will agree or disagree with that. Because I think the Reverend would agree with me that not you and I, someone who's not you and I, someone who's of color, and someone who has an entirely different experience being brought up in the same world, in the same community, does see that racism.
Absolutely. And I know the question is to the chief, but if you lined up this stage right now and you put 5 African Americans on this side, you put 5 white Americans on that side, it's going to be totally different in what the perception is.
Does it come from experience or from listening to guys like Sharpton?
I think both.
Both.
I think I think Sharpton is such a small portion of
Well,
it.
but
I think you hear
he's
it
just a
every
symbol.
day.
I think we
He's
should
a symbol
stop,
of what I
but we
think is
should stop
influencing.
talking about Sharpton and look at something the Reverend said.
Yeah.
He said we're trying to train our young people to trust the police.
Right.
And that's tough. When you talk about this globally, it can't be just the Ferguson issue. It has to go to how we approach this globally. And when I say globally, I'm talking about across the United States, where you have mixed communities. Because as we see, the United States and the demographics of the United States is changing daily. And if we don't get a hold of this now, and it is simple, in Niagara Falls, New York, for instance, they're doing a thing with the police, the pastors, the politicians. Chief Tawaga, Chief, you can speak for yourself. I'm sorry. I'm listen, he didn't give me any money to do this. But in Chief Tawaga, when there was a problem, yeah, good. But I'm telling you, when you've got a chief like this who reached out, and when Mad Dads and all these other folks went and said, we want to be a part of helping police. So that Galleria, is it a mess at times? Absolutely. However, you got guys who look like those young people, who talk to the chief, who know the chief, and I'm telling you, probably, I don't know, it's been a while since we've had a conversation because of those efforts.
And it looks to me like the chief has been trying to interject
Yeah, I know.
here, and I want, so we're
and
gonna
a
let the
preacher
chief
on the
talk.
same one.
Well, you brought up the situation in Cheektowaga. Cheektowaga is a community of 90,000 people, but it's also the transportation hub of Western New York with the thruway, the expressway, the airport, the rail station. We also have the largest retail center in all of Western New York, in Cheektowaga in the Walden corridor. So our population actually is, during the day, is close to 250,000 people. So we've got people coming from all over into our town. And it's very, very important that the people, and for commerce, and for business, and for the community, that our police department is perceived as fair, integrity, and that you're going to be treated properly. And when you're talking the message that law enforcement, if you're going to change the dynamic on race and some of these other issues, it starts with the agency culture. And in Cheektowaga, what we stress more than anything with our officers is that you treat each and every encounter with every single citizen as a reflection on yourself, on the agency, and the profession.
That's what makes Buffalo a good place to live, and the city of good neighbors, that kind of attitude, and we'll continue in a moment.
Going into this break, we are going to show a video that I did when I was in Los Angeles, and it was kind of a tribute to first responders, and we've updated the end of it to include some more recent events, but it might be interesting to take a look at some of the things that I witnessed in Los Angeles.
5823 Cantaloupe Avenue as the residence event. Suspects are running from the alley rear to a